considering we're now, three-quarters of the way through the season, and for you, how would you describe how this first year in Formula One has felt?
Yeah, it's been my rookie year, so, a bit of a step into the unknown. Now we're at race 19, and the most races I've ever done in a season is 14. So just to give you some perspective, and we still have 6 to go. So, in terms of how busy we are at the track, but also away from the track with simulator, with sponsorship commitments and all of those things, it's almost like transitioning from part-time to a full-time job, which is great. I get to drive the car a lot more. The car is even faster than what I've been used to in Formula 2, but definitely took some adjustment.
What do you think has been the most difficult part of sort of making that transition from the schedule to the commitments to the actual physical part of it?
I think it's trying to squeeze it all in, because I know how to drive the car, and that didn't change. Of course, I improved in terms of how I can drive the F1 car and how comfortable I feel with it. But that's almost the easy part because that's what we grow up doing. All of the new things, traveling to so many more places, so many more time zones, so much long haul travel, which is still quite a new thing for me. Conserving the energy while doing that. Plus then, the weekend starts now on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday, and a lot more media commitments and keeping that energy all the time. I think the most important thing is kind of conserving your energy through these days to make sure that when you get in the car on Friday, you're still completely fresh.
Have you had a moment where you were like, this was your pinch me moment? This is real life. This is actually happening?
I think it's seeing, for example, Silverstone. It's my home Grand Prix. Arriving there and seeing the support and the passion of all the fans, it was a really special moment. And it was one of those moments because I was one of the kids in the grandstand one day, and being on the other side of the fence and finally being in that F1 seat, that was probably the first moment I was like, wow, I've made it to Formula One.
What is something that you know now that maybe you wished you knew race one?
Probably how to build up the weekend, because FP1...
Like the balance?
Exactly. You need to find the limits of the car and set the car up well. But Friday is not a day you need to take a lot of risk. Of course, sprint weekend is a bit different, but on a normal weekend, you're just testing on Friday, and you don't need to go straight to the limit. What I was used to in Formula 2 is you do free practice, and then you go straight into quali. So you need to be on the limit from lap 1, basically. But now we have so much more time, and just if I knew from the very beginning how to utilize that and the fact that I didn't need to take any unnecessary risks, I probably would have, definitely would have made less mistakes up to this stage.
So when you have your season like you have now, and you've learned and you've grown and you've sort of adjusted to all of the things, how does that impact the goals that you set for season number 2?
Yeah, it certainly impacts my goal setting and what I was targeting. Throughout the year, I didn't really set any position-based goals because it's very dependent on car performance, and that we don't know prior to the season, and also development rates as well. So there's a few things that we can't really predict heading into the season. But my real main goal, which is measurable and which something that I can, control, is to see a marked improvement in myself throughout the year. And I've seen that, which is really important. Next year, now I will know all of the tracks and everything. There's a few less question marks heading into the season. It will be more about refinement. Of course, we have the new regulation, which is going to make life a bit difficult. But aside from that, it's going to be about trying to refine my talent and use it in the correct ways.
So at this moment in time, what's something that you're really proud of that you've accomplished this year?
I think I've been able to go to a lot of new tracks for me, Japan, Singapore, China, and score points. It's not a given. We're up against other drivers who have been to that track maybe for the past 10 or 15 years. And I just arrived there for the very first time in a car that, especially at the start of the year, was probably a bit out of its depth. It wasn't a point-scoring car. And we still managed to extract some really good results out of it. And I think since the summer break, I've been really proud of my performances and my consistency as well.
Okay, so how much truth is there to the fact that you didn't actually pass your driving test the first time you took it?
I don't know. I don't know who told you that. Yeah, it's true. I hope no one important is listening. But
how is that possible? Because you're not the only one. How is it possible?
I think my problem was that having driven since I was 6 years old, I came with the typical racing driver confidence, and I went for my driving test without taking any lessons. I literally just went straight for the test, thinking I'd be absolutely fine.
Mhm.
I'd done all of the theory and the
Some
stuff.
people call that cocky, but that's okay.
That's the word. That's the word I was looking for. And then there were little things that threw me up.
So, like,
I don't know
what-
if you have that in America, but we have like a box, which you can't stop in. It's like a box, yellow box, and it's like crossed. And in the UK, that means you can't stop in this box. It's like
Okay.
in a intersection.
almost like a crosswalk. We would call them a crosswalk, where people would cross the street.
Yeah,
Pedestrian.
so
You can't stop there.
You have to keep moving,
Yes.
exactly. But you're allowed to stop in it if you're turning right for some reason
Okay.
in the UK. I guess if you guys, if you're turning left, you would be allowed to stop in this box.
We would be turning right. Same.
But you're on the
would-
opposite side of the road than
Yeah, but
us.
so for you, it would be left-hand turn.
No, it's right-hand turn, because that's how I messed it up. So
Really?
I don't know why. Maybe it's a strange rule. That can be my
Okay.
excuse as to why I
Yes,
failed.
that's why.
Basically, the lights went green and my brain was like, okay, I can't stop in this box and I can't find the exit yet because there were cars coming. So I said, I'm not going to drive in the box. And then the instructor who sits in the car with you, he said, you have to go. And the second he talks, during your test, it's game over. And after that, I knew that I had failed.
Did you pass it the second time?
Yes. But after the first time I failed, I was like, okay, now we need to get serious. I took lessons and everything, and I got rid of my ego, put my ego to one side, and went as a normal person. But it's a funny story. On the first test that I did, one of the first things I asked the instructor, it was a guy like 60 years old. He didn't seem very happy. He'd probably had a few tough tests before. And I asked him, do you like F1? And he said, those guys are crazy. They're so stupid.
That's where you went wrong.
And I was like, okay, well, this is going to be
this is not going to be
fail.
your day. All right, one last question for you before we let you go. We have a new show called Vibe Check, and it's about who you really are. What's your vibe? How do you want people to know you? How do you want people to see you? What is it for you?
That's the first time I've been asked that question.
Yay!
Good job. Yeah,
Thank
it's
you.
nice to have new questions. Now I have to think about an answer, which is the more difficult part.
It's hard to answer that when you're only 22, because it can change over time.
Yeah. I want to be, someone who's down to earth, and it's something very important to me that I'm not affected by the life that we live, because of course we're very lucky and live a fantastic life. But I still want to be relatable to the fans and down to earth and a normal person, which is what I am. And I think I have a good group of people around me that enable me to keep my feet on the ground, because I think it's easy for F1 drivers to have their ego inflated and stuff, and I don't want that to be the case.
Awesome. Thank you.